So I think one of the things that we can all agree on is that communication is extremely important to the health and success of a relationship. And it's not just being able to speak to someone, but being able to listen as well. However, let's focus a little bit more on the how we speak to someone. We have to learn how to convey our message. We have to learn how to express ourselves effectively so that we can get the results we desire from that person or from that situation. Now, one of the things that I come across a lot is women being frustrated by a lack of communication with the men that they date or even relationships with or even married. And what that leads to in some cases, many cases, is women being afraid to fully express themselves or say what they want, maybe because they feel like he's just going to dismiss them, he's not going to listen, or some may feel like, well, why should I even have to tell him? He should figure it out on his own. There's various reasons that lead to a breakdown in the communication and understanding how you should tell a man what you want. And I want you to understand it's important that you do tell a man what you want. I know some of you may think, well, no, you can't tell a man what you want because then he'll use it to his advantage to use you and play you. The vast majority of men who are trying to play you and use you are not going to do everything you say you want from them. They're going to try to do the least to get the most. They may take some of what you say and apply it, but they're not consistent across the board. So don't be fearful of letting it be known because you are still, as a woman, strong enough and aware enough to pick up on the inconsistencies and signs that tell you something is off here. But on the flip side, telling a man opens it up to the possibility of him being able to provide everything that you so desire. But let's put a pin in that. Let's keep this going with the main topic at hand. How do you tell a man what you want? Now, I'm going to give you 5 keys, but I want to start off with 2 principles that you need to understand. And one of the first principles is he may love you, but not understand how to love you. So one of the big reasons it's so important that you tell a man what you want is because there's going to be a lot of times where that man, despite a true desire to pour into you and make you happy, doesn't understand how you want to receive that love. Now, some people may say, well, certain things are common sense, but I always say common sense ain't always so common. And we're all raised differently. We've all experienced these different types of relationships that may or usually shapes our perception of how we show up in the next relationship. So that man may not understand how you want him to show up completely. And if he doesn't get the information from you, he's going to be left very confused. It can be very frustrating, and it can lead to a lot of mistakes that turn into bigger problems in the relationship. So you've got to be willing to sit down and map out for him essentially what it is you need from him. Now, again, as I mentioned before, this principle, get over this fear of they're going to use it against you, because you can still see through that if you remain aware and trusting your intuition. But you are handicapping the man who wants to do right by you. I can't tell you how many times I've coached couples or coached men who said to me verbatim, if she would just tell me what she needed, I would do it for her. Like, he did not have a problem with providing these things, but he just didn't know what works. And unfortunately, let me give you an example of how it can get really frustrating. So imagine a man who is trying really hard to make you happy, and he's getting you flowers, right? Now, deep inside, you don't really care for flowers, but you play it off nice. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Boom, boom, boom. So he continues to give you these flowers, right? And in reality, you're wishing for something else. I don't know what that thing might be, but let's just say you really put more value into maybe it's quality time or some other expression of love. Anyways, one day, maybe in an argument, disagreement, whatever, you obliterate consistent effort of giving you flowers. You pretty much, say that, you don't even care about that. That's not important to you. For him, that's extremely defeating. That's like, damn, I've been trying this. I thought you liked this. And this whole time you didn't tell me this was an issue. If you would have just told me it was this other thing you needed, I could have done that. That creates frustration. That creates a lack of trust in the sense of, now I don't know when things actually make you happy or not. Now I don't know when things actually work or not. So now that can create an environment where the man second guesses himself. He's not sure. He's not confident about his actions because you're not fully communicating to him what actually works and what doesn't. You're not letting him know what you really want and what really makes you happy. So that's just a small example, but understand that yes, there are plenty of men who have had the desire to fulfill the needs of their partner. They just need a direction from their partner. Be open to that. All right, and now the second principle, I pretty much already highlighted it, but I'm just because it's so important, I'm gonna say it again. It's okay to give him the blueprint, all right? It's okay to give him the directions. So again, the fear is always the man will use this against you. No, stop thinking like that. And start understanding that, again, as I said earlier, the average man who is trying to use you is not going to do everything on that list, or he's not going to put effort into doing everything. There's going to be some scenarios, there's exceptions to every rule, where yes, some men may be so invested in trying to play the game that they will do everything. But I would still argue that something in you as a woman is going to tip you off to something not being right with this specific individual. So it's going to be up to you to listen to yourself, listen to your spirit, your intuition when that moment happens. But stop letting people tell you, oh, you shouldn't have to tell him this. Let him know what he has to do. No, get that out the way. Because wouldn't you as a woman, let's flip it for a second. You're with a man, you genuinely love this man. You genuinely want to make him happy. Now, I understand that women are typically better at picking up at the small details and being very in tune to understand what this man will like. Even though women don't always apply that knowledge correctly, you guys are better at picking up on the little things. But if there was a disconnect that existed that you were not aware of, would you not want your man to let you know what's going on? Would you not want him to tell you what he needs from you? And that way you can ensure that he's being fulfilled and happy and that you guys are experiencing an amazing relationship? I would think yes. So it's the same thing on the other side. Let's not reject the need to do that. Let's get comfortable with embracing this approach, because I'm telling you, it's a huge key to a healthy relationship. And I'll add this kind of goes back to the principles of the love languages. For those of you who are not aware of that concept, it's the fact that we like to receive and give love in different ways. So it's things like physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service. I forgot the other two right now, but you guys pretty much know what I'm talking about. And so it just really highlights the fact that we love and receive love differently. And we have to be willing to tap into those things. And if we recognize that this individual is unable to give us love in the way that we need to receive it, then we can quickly evaluate that we just don't belong here and we move forward. All right, so now those are the two principles, but now let's get to the 5 keys on how to tell a man what you want. And the first key, and this is a huge key, huge, be specific. Let me say it one more time. Be very specific. So let me start with a story. You may have heard this one before from me, but I'm going to say it again. There was once a couple that I was counseling, and long story short, the wife was saying, the husband doesn't spend enough time with her. He's not showing her enough affection. She just wants him to sit down and watch TV with her. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I expressed this to the husband, and he hears that. And he says, okay, I got it. I'm going to start doing this so we can make this relationship, this marriage better. And so a week passed and I asked him for an update. And when I talked to him, he says, well, I did everything y'all told me I needed to do, but it seems like nothing's working. I speak to her and she says, well, yeah, he watched TV with me, but he was on this end of the couch and I was on that end of the couch. Now, to the man, it was, I did my job. You said watch TV with you, and I watched some TV with you. What do you mean? Like, what's the problem here? But to the woman, what she was really asking for was a deeper expression of affection, being close to her, showing her that he actually wants to be next to her and giving her some non-sexual intimacy. And so you got to understand that a lot of men, they can't read your mind. And you can't leave it up to them to interpret and decipher and try to figure this whole thing out. Now, don't get me wrong. When I speak to men, I am encouraging them to learn how to get better in tune, how to read between the lines, how to understand maybe her nonverbal communication, right? However, if you simply rely on that to solve the issue, then you're asking for more problems. And it is to the benefit of you and that man to be clear as possible. When you say, I want more time, what does that look like? All right? Because if you say to a man, well, I don't hear from you enough. All right? Let's say you hear from him every couple days, right? And you're like, well, we don't communicate enough. I need to hear from you more often. So he starts calling you every other day, right? Now to you wanted every day. That's what you really wanted. That's what you were expecting he would do. But to him, he just heard communicate more. All right, I'll bump it up a day. And now you're still not happy. And that creates I can't tell you how many times couples, right, find themselves so frustrated where the man's saying, I did what she told me and it's still not good enough. But in reality, yes, he did what she told him, but he wasn't doing what she really was looking for. All right. And that disconnect was created because you're not being specific enough. So lay out as best as possible exactly what you need. Make it clear, make it simple to understand, and then he will have the opportunity to either step up and do the right thing or show you that he's not that serious. All right, so now a second huge key to how you tell a man what you want is express your desires at an appropriate time. All right. So what I've come across a lot is situations where a woman will say to me, well, I told him what I wanted, right? I let him know this was an issue. I've been telling him over and over again, and nothing's changing. Now, there are some scenarios where nothing's changing because he's just not serious. But then there are many other scenarios where nothing changed or the message is not being received because it's being delivered at some of the worst times. At times where that man is not going to be receptive to anything that you have to say. For example, if you express these desires in the heat of an argument, it's very likely it's not going to land well. Because in the heat of an argument, people are focused on defending their position, defending themselves. They're trying to find little things that you did to them to throw back at you because they're feeling attacked by you in that moment. So if you express a desire, they're not really hearing that. Like, yeah, maybe they heard the audible voice, but it didn't resonate with them in their heart. So you can't really count that as I told them. No, that was a bad time. Another example that's kind of coming to mind right now. Let's say the man is watching a sports game and he's really into the sports game. And this is the time you want to say, we need to have a talk, right? Like, yo, this is not the time to have a talk. The man is completely invested in this sport. Whether you think it's stupid, whether you think he shouldn't be so into it, that's not the point. The point is it's important to him. He is invested, and this is not the time to go to him trying to express desires, concerns, or any of that. It would be best for you to wait for the game to finish before you talk to him. But even better, when we're trying to find what I said is the appropriate time to express yourself, I think ideally you want to do it in good, positive moments of interaction. So when you two are having a good time, or even just a neutral time. So it may not be we're having such a great time at the moment, but it's not a bad moment. We're not arguing. There's no tense issues. There's no negativity surrounding us in the moment. This is a great time to express yourself, because, especially when it comes to telling him what you want, because he's going to be in a more receptive mindset. There is not a distraction going on for him to not completely process what you're saying. And therefore, he's going to be more likely to actually now want to carry out that action. So be mindful of you timing when you talk to him. Now, I know some of you are saying there's never a good time with this man. All right. It's always something. And when do I get to fit this in? Or he never wants to talk. So if it's a he never wants to talk scenario, then that to me is, again, evidence of maybe you are dealing with the wrong person. And I'm only saying maybe to be fair, because, there's always other possible factors at play. But in most cases, if he just does not want to talk ever and is always shutting down any conversations of you expressing yourself, then that's simply not a healthy relationship, and you probably need to remove yourself from it. However, if it's an issue of there's just a lack of time, he's a very busy man, I never find a good time to talk to him, that's someone that you need to schedule it in with, all right? That's an individual where, okay, we recognize he's on the go, he's on the move. Let's schedule ahead of time. Hey, next week at this time, let's make time to hang out and let's talk and things of that nature. This will be a more effective approach to be able to finally accomplish being able to communicate with each other and get these things out the way. So consider that. But either way, you have to be mindful of the timing of your message, and as well as some other factors we'll get into in a second. All right, so now number 3. And this one is more on you as a woman. Like it's an internal thing, but it's important. It's an important thing that we have to highlight. And so the third key to how you tell a man what you want is you have to remove the fear of scaring him away. So a lot of women, whether it's in the dating phase or while already in the relationship, suppress their feelings or don't fully express themselves because they're afraid of rocking the boat, so to speak. They're afraid that bringing this thing up or expressing this desire is going to cause this man to run away and end the potential relationship or end an actual relationship that you're in with this guy. And I always say to women, listen, you can't scare a man away who is truly serious about you and truly cares about you. There is a caveat to that. You can't scare him away when you're expressing yourself in a positive, loving manner. All right? So again, there is a responsibility on you on how you express yourself and deliver your message. But once you cover those fundamentals and you take the right approach, if that is not enough for the man to respect your expression of your feelings and to honor it and to listen and to actually now take it into account and try to do something about it, then that just means you're probably dealing with the wrong guy. Plain and simple. But again, you won't be able to expose that reality until you are willing to be vulnerable enough to express yourself and what your needs are. There is no way you can see where he really stands with you if you're going to hold back your true feelings and what you need from him. Not to mention, it's not even where he stands with you in the sense of a willingness to do these things that you need, but it's also exposing the capability of doing these things. Because the reality that we have to accept is that the vast majority of people are not for you. Meaning they are not a good fit for you in a relationship. So you may meet a man who has good intention, who cares about you, who wants to pour into you. However, he is genuinely not capable of fulfilling the specific desires and needs that you have in a relationship. Not because he's a bad man, not because he's trying to play you. He just may fall short in certain areas. He just may be, in some cases, let's go back to that very busy man. Let's just say the type of work he does requires a certain amount of time that for you creates a conflict, all right? Because again, there are some women who need much more quality time and attention than the next woman. And that's neither bad nor good. That's just who that woman is. And it's good in the sense of if she's being true to herself, I want her to go find the man who has the time for her. Whereas the woman who's a little bit more, doesn't need as much quality time is a better fit for the man who has a busier schedule and a lot more on his plate. Now, this isn't to ignore the fact that, yes, there are some men and just people in general who have to create a better work-life balance, who have to be mindful of not burying themselves in their work to where they're not making time for their relationship. However, we can't ignore the fact that some people are still in professions that, regardless of what they try to do, requires more time. So one profession that comes off the top of my head, a man who's a doctor. All right. If he's a doctor who's on call, has to deal with a lot at his hospital, this is a man who does not have as much flexibility with his time. And if you are a woman that needs a lot more time, you are not going to be happy with that man. No matter how much he wants to make you happy, he is incapable because of what he does. So this can be exposed when we fully express ourselves and our needs and desires. And you cannot let the fear of running him away stop you. Because again, the right one who is capable and a good fit for you is going to embrace when you express yourself in that positive and loving manner. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So let me start off by clearing any misconception or confusion here. I don't have any kids, okay? So when you read the title, some of y'all may say, well, wait a minute, Stephan got a daughter? No.